For this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to create a selective color portrait, which essentially means I'm going to take a color portrait that you see here, and I'm going to turn it black and white, and I'm going to pull through some colors that I want to remain from the original colored image, but it's going to be primarily a black and white image at the end. All right, so to begin, I have my background layer, which is locked, as you can see. And I'm going to leave it as is for now. I'm not going to be doing any editing directly to the background layer, as you'll see in a moment. So I'm just going to leave that as is. Normally I would unlock that background layer, but we're just going to leave it. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create a gradient map adjustment layer. Okay, the gradient map adjustment layer is going to essentially turn anything that's beneath it black and white. So it just creates this gradient map. If this gradient down here is backwards, if you have white on the left and black on the right, you'll see that it's probably in a negative. So you're just going to reverse that. But mine turned out the way I intended. So now my image is black and white. As you can see over here, our gradient map layer that we've just created has a white box to the right here. That is called our layer mask. Essentially, right now, everything on that layer mask is white, as you can see. But if I painted with a paintbrush tool over here, if I were to paint, see, with black, which is my image here, as you can see, it's black already. If I were to paint black onto this, essentially painting over here, and it paints a black line, now you can see that show up over here, it's going to allow the color from the bottom layer to show through. So I'm going to undo that. Show my undo history here. I'm going to undo the brush that I just did, but as you just saw, anything that I paint black onto that layer mask while this is selected is going to show through. So that's how I'm going to bring the color back into the image that I want to select, hence the name Selective Color Portrait. So in order to do that, I am going to actually, instead of using the brush tool, I'm going to take this quick select tool, which I can paint onto the area that I want to pull through, and it will find the edges and it will select a certain area. So I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. And I want to pull through this nice yellow hat. So I'm going to click and drag, and you can see it's starting to find the edges where I'm dragging it around. I'm going to keep going until I have selected the entire hat and try to pick up those little edges there. All right, so now I have a selection around the hat. In order to turn that black, I can do Option Delete, which will then fill, as you can see over here on the right, you can see that that filled my selection with black, allowing the color to show through. If I hit Command D to deselect that selection, you will see that I also picked up some color from around the hat, and I'll show you how we can fix that because it kind of makes it look a little disjointed from the nice black and white image that we have going. So in order to fix that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer, and I'm going to now choose my brush tool. I'm going to choose my brush tool and I'm going to pick one that has fuzzy edges. I've already got one selected here. And I'm going to go in, you can see it's nice and soft there. I'm going to go in along the edge, but instead of going in with black, because that would allow the background to show through, I'm going to select white. So I'm going to switch to white as my primary color. And by painting in with white, I can take away that color that I had allowed to show through before. So I'm going to do that just along the edges to pull out that blue that showed up, that little halo that we have going there. So I'm just using this fuzzy brush, going along the edge and tightening that up, making it look a little bit nicer. All right, and I'm just going to quickly finish that up. I will mention that when you are using the brush tool, it is best to use that with a mouse. I'm currently using a trackpad, which makes it a little bit more difficult. It's not impossible, but you certainly will have an easier time doing techniques like this with a mouse instead of a trackpad. So now that I've got that, I'm going to zoom out. And you'll see that we pulled through that nice yellow from the hat. I'm going to do the same thing with a little bit of the yellow down here, just so you can see that we can do that in multiple areas and see how it looks. I'm going to drag my quick select tool around that, see how nice and easy that is. And again, I'm going to make sure this is black and go Option Delete, which fills. It's essentially just a fill command to create that black fill, which then allows the yellow from the bottom layer to show through. All right, and that filled pretty cleanly. If I zoomed in, there might be some areas that I want to tighten up, but for the most part, you get a nice color selection going there. I would spend a little more time than I just did getting this to look a little more seamless with the final image that we have, but those are the basic techniques that you need to know in order to create a selective color portrait.